Hi, everyone. This is Jackie Cooper with the GBA Spotlight Talk Show, and I'm very excited to have my special guest on today because of his background and his experience in the blockchain community. I'll be speaking with him in a quick second. For those of you that do not know anything about the Government Blockchain Association, I would definitely ask that you go to the link that's below in our blog. So that way you can learn more about the events that are happening throughout the year. And also you can like and subscribe to the YouTube and all the other channels. If you are a member of a government and want to learn more about blockchain, it's free to join. So that way you can get guidance and, there's a huge community that's here to support you. And the GBA actually has over 500 chapters and members from all around the world. And so I'm very excited to be both their talk show host, which I've been for a number of years, as well as the co-chair of their legal working group. So there is such a diverse community here that's really interested in helping everyone who might be a newbie to those that are even more experienced. So Milton, how are you doing today? Nice to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Really love the Government Blockchain Association and everything that they're doing. We're
So
doing.
yeah, no, it's true. So I'm all about stories and how people got started in this blockchain community. I've been in the space for 10 years, and it's amazing to me how fast the time has gone. How did you get introduced to distributed ledger, cryptocurrency, blockchain, IoT? There's a whole slew of innovative tech that is being developed in our community. How did you get involved?
So I fell in love with blockchain technology, AI, the Internet of Things really early on, in January 2017. I was homeless on the street, and then in Atlanta, Georgia. I ended up discovering Bitcoin. 24 hours after discovering Bitcoin, I understood the impact that blockchain distributed ledger technology was going to have on many different sectors. And then I got obsessed. I was like, wait, this technology allows for, so many different advancements and, in many different fields, like, holding our data and controlling it ourselves, having transparency, really being able to see what AI, like the steps that AI actually takes, how it works, so many different things at that time period. And, I worked like double shifts, 7 days a week as a waiter and a construction worker for 11 months. And I ended up investing everything into digital assets like Bitcoin and other different altcoins. And I did very well for myself. And after I was like, you know what, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to be part of such a young community. And so I said, you know what, I'm gonna take this money and I'm going to invest in, networking, into learning, into my education. And so I started attending events around the world. First it was in the United States. And then I spent like a year in the United States going all 50 states, so all the different communities, meetups, and everything. That's where I first heard about the Government Blockchain Association. And then, fast forward to the year afterwards, I ended up, really, really being a subject matter expert, but I was more, just going around the world learning, So it's like I had the privilege of basically everyone at that time was a small community, right? And everyone was heads down in their own little bubble. And they were all studying and they were all building and they were all doing their own little thing in their own company or in their own project or in their own city or in their own state or their own country, right? And I had the privilege to just come and visit everyone's bubble. And I was able to be like, okay, so what are you guys doing? What are you up to? What are you solving? What technology do you have? And then I got to learn directly from the people creating the future. And so I ended up hosting private VIP events because of my network at the time. And so I was bringing people together, and I was just really wanting to learn and add value. And so that's how I really got intimate, with distributed ledger technology, Web3, Internet of Things, AI. I just fell in love with the bunch, quantum computing. And, I ended up getting this macro perspective of what's really going on in the world. How I ended up in love with distributed ledger technology and the community.
So, what are you focusing on? What's your I know you're passionate about a lot of things, but what area are you actually trying to educate people on? And I don't want to not remember to ask you more about how you're helping the GBA as well. But why don't we talk about the project that you really kind of are trying to educate more people about?
So one of my main focuses, right, is really aligned with the GBA because
Mhm.
like the GBA really helped inspire me to do what I'm doing today. So I joined the GBA last year, and I've known about the GBA like the whole time that I've been in crypto because they had a bunch of the GBA had a bunch of meetups and events, all over the East Coast in New York in Washington D.C., and they were sort of like a crypto Mondays. But then I started seeing them in Davos. I started seeing, so I was always running in parallel because I was a DGen, right? I wasn't really, government, formal corporate, background or anything. I was just a person who was self-taught, entrepreneur who was really trying to take advantage of an opportunity that I identified early on. And so I didn't really mingle with the GBA or really, have any desire to really work with the GBA at the time, right? But as I said before, how I was able to have the privilege to travel around the world and visit everyone's bubbles and everything, and having the macro perspective of what's really going on in the world. Well, basically, that gave me the insight of what people were thinking, right? And I was able to see what direction the space was going to. And as years went by, there was always government. There was always agencies. There was always those information gatherers in OTC. There was those people, those projects, that had, people from DARPA, people from, different agencies that were part of government, that were part of, the public servants and everything. And so then I started to really start to see that government were inevitably going to get involved. And then El Salvador happened. And El
Mhm.
Salvador announced for the world that it was going to legalize Bitcoin as legal tender. So I flew to El Salvador, and I was invited to go over there as an advisor. And I went and I learned. I went to learn. I was over there with William, William, who was the head of the development of Bitcoin City, the Bukele family, and I was able to, really see how government really was getting involved in the space and how it actually operates. And so that's when I realized I had solutions to future problems. One of the problem is Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer network. It's not a group of people, organization network. It's not meant for that. And I learned that in El Salvador by the way that, it's like 20 people have more control over that whole country's Bitcoin reserve, right? So I see, there's a bunch of different problems for operations, that aren't really plausible, and to really have a government really custody, Bitcoin reserves and really be able to operate using those funds. Right. So then I realized that there was no real innovation around the world when it comes to, custody solutions for governments because everyone was interested in retail, Coinbase, Anchorage, Like Anchorage took a step forward to being, government serving governments and stuff, like the governments of Singapore, the United States. So like they were getting into that, and I started realizing like, wait, are they really using multi-sig and all these hardware solutions to that they offer to retail and to smaller institutions, and as a solution for governments? So then I said, wait a minute, that doesn't really sound right. That's not really operationally, it doesn't make sense to me, because if I'm a taxpayer, I don't want 20 people or less or whatever to have control over the private keys of my Bitcoin, that I'm paying my taxes towards, you know? So then I ended up developing, a self custody solution for governments around the world to be able to participate and actually have them be able to participate in this peer to peer system
And
and really integrate digital assets, not just Bitcoin, into current policy and current financial infrastructure in a more traditional way.
how? Because that's a really big statement.
So this is a part of my trade secrets, because the thing is that I really do not want to give the current custodians out there or bankers the opportunity to really try to duplicate what I'm doing or make small altercations or anything like that. But just think of it as we've taken multiple different technologies and solutions, right, that people have forgotten. That's why it's like the people who are new into crypto, they don't really remember, things that were really created, in 2013 or 2016, or, they don't remember, a lot of the history of Bitcoin. And me, I came in 2017, but I did a lot of history, research. I researched a lot into Bitcoin and its whole story, not just part of it. And
Yeah.
so I went into the past and figured out how to take Bitcoin and make it physical, a physical asset, which can be integrated into policy, sort of like a gold certificate.
Okay. All right. I get the sense of where you're going with that. So, have you already rolled it out? Is it or where you what stage is it? And if I mean we are going to be talking about GBA, but if people were interested in reaching out to you to maybe learn more, how would they do that?
So you could people can always reach out to me on LinkedIn at Milton Guarderas on LinkedIn, or you could reach me at Milton at blockpro.us. And basically, anyone is welcome to reach out. We're at the stage that we're in currently. We just finished our prototype. So we have proprietary, hardware and also key management solution software for governments, and this is specifically for governments that we've made this for, and specifically for the U.S. government, which we are looking to go to the custody sec event, as you know, this Friday over there in DC. So we're going to be pushing this and asking a bunch of questions, like how's the key distribution, how is the key distribution really done when it comes to governments, right? What's the government's governance model? What is the dispute resolution, model that they have going on? How are they, reducing the counterparty risks? Is it really a good idea to have a third party custodian for something that was meant to be, self custodied? There's many different questions that need to be answered, and I would love to, be on, a round table with the likes of, the leading custodians and see how they answer these questions, because these are questions that I've thought, me and my team have thought about, for years, and we have developed the answers, you know, and I believe that we're very far ahead. We currently are still fundraising. We started fundraising not too long ago. We've been bootstrapped this whole time, heads down, just developing our product. We've got our product now, the first iteration of it. And so now we're really just trying to go to market and serve governments. We are currently speaking with multiple governments around the world for our solution. And we're already developing our next product that is really focused on banks and institutions. So, for banks to be able to offer services to their clients and not have to rely on other custodians. So, yeah, that's where we're at.
Well, I mean, it's always exciting when individuals like yourself are thinking about what are the problems and then how do you solve those problems. And it always also brings up a whole slew of layers of other additional questions, as you said, because it's like an onion. When you start peeling it back, you realize that some of the answers that you thought, would answer the question actually lead to other questions that have to be addressed. And as a tech developer, that's also part of why, the development community is so creative, because it's, there we have multiple chains, multiple bridges. And, I know since you and I have been in this space for a while, it has evolved over time. It still is not easy to enter into, with the wallets and things like that, but it's a lot easier than it was. But in 5 to 10 years, especially with everyone saying that they want to do this mass adoption, even though there's going to have to be a whole slew of education in order to do that, from generation in, from seniors to the youth and in between. Again, there's a lot that's going to be needed, and as you're saying with the government side, it's one thing to say, okay, let's do it, and then it's a whole nother thing to um, ask who's doing this and how do you protect this for the generations that are going, especially if we in our living body are not going to be here. How Who's in control of this information? Because you're talking about Bitcoin, you're talking about a decentralized community that was created, like you said, to provide economic freedom. Well, if you start to centralize it in a government that and it becomes more traditional, then does it kind of defeat the philosophy of why it was created? So it's like,
Right.
is that
But see, the
counterintuitive?
thing the thing that I'm looking at, from the angle that I'm looking at it, is from like, okay, why can't we have both? Why
Yeah.
can't we centralize part of Bitcoin so that the governments can participate, right? And the people could benefit from the, value that Bitcoin provides for governments to make things a lot more effective, efficient, right? And more transparent and trustless, right? But then the individual can self-custody their Bitcoin however they want with what's available today, and we can both exist, right? Like, individuals can rack up on their Bitcoins and do whatever they want to do. They can transact however they want to do, and then let the government centralize their portion of Bitcoin. Because if you look at how much Bitcoin is actually, distributed amongst the population versus centralized, there's really no comparison. The self-custody people are the ones that are winning. The individuals are the ones that hold most of the Bitcoin around the world, not the centralized exchanges or institutions or banks or governments. And there's only what, less than 2 million Bitcoin to be mined. So that means if they take over the whole 2 million, that's still not a majority of the actual Bitcoin that's distributed.
So let's shift I agree with you. Let's shift a little bit over to the Government Blockchain Association. Share a little bit more about what you're doing within our community. And you mentioned Blockworks. Share a little bit more about that whole area, because again, the purpose of the talk shows is definitely to find out more about your personal story, but also to kind of let everyone know um, the projects that GBA is actually focusing and featuring.
100%, and that's why I really am excited and really proud to be part of the Government Blockchain Association because of the alignment there, right? We want to serve the greater good, right? We want to serve the public. We want to make sure that, like you said earlier, like we need to really see who's doing what, all this stuff. I think that it's really, really important that lawmakers, policymakers, those making decisions in government that represent the population of their citizens, right, take steps backwards to then really look at what's going on so that we can take the right steps forward, right? And that's what the GBA is all about, right? It's really about building this trust, being responsible, taking the right steps forward. And the GBA has created this product that I fell in love with. It's an assessment called the blockchain maturity model, and it makes sense because everyone we in this space, right? 99% of projects are all scams, right? Like they really are
Well,
half baked,
let's
and
maybe not. We won't. I that's a big word to use. I mean,
okay,
so I would
99% of projects will fail. How about that?
that, yes, because it's like other startups.
Yeah,
Um, and the intent might be good, but the
yeah.
funding and the liquidity behind them might not be there. And so that's where, now there might be malintent, and that's really where the scam would be. But there are a lot of really strong people who have great ideas, but sometimes they don't get carried out.
Oh, 100%. So let me restate that. So like as we know, like 99% of all projects are going to fail, right? Like we've seen the top 100 coins change up every so often, in this space. And we see that even the top five changes up, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And some people fail, some people are still alive, some people are new players that have gotten to that spot, and the thing is, we want to know who we can trust, right? And we really want to help, really protect investors, really protect participants, really protect, people who are trying to invest into these startups, right? We want to protect, the citizens of all the nations around the world, right? So that this could be a safe place for people to be able to be creative, for people
Hmm.
to be able to, try to manifest these ideas. So the blockchain maturity model actually helps deliver that type of security to those who participate.
Yeah.
Having these experts in coming from academia, coming from developing, coming from building, coming from like policy making, the law side. The GBA is made up of some of the most brilliant people in the space that I have met. And people like Gerard Daché, like he is so well informed, he understands blockchain. He's so humble, but I feel
Yeah.
like the way that he picks apart, like things in his mind and the questions that he asks, right? It's like he knows what he's talking about. He knows, what like he's very common sense, right? The way that he likes to put it, he's a common sense kind of guy. And these are examples of the type of people that are a part of this great organization. And these are the people that we really need to support. That's why I'm here. because I'm pushing the BMMs to all different clients to push them in my network, and new projects that have funding. I always recommend for them to get a BMM certification, because the BMMs is going to really like educate these projects and let them do self-assessments and reassess, what it is that their solution is really solving, what problems they're really solving, what it can be used for. Is it mature enough of an idea for investment? Is it mature enough to be able to onboard users and really trap value into it? There's so many different levels to the BMMs. There's 5 levels, right? So, like with these 5 levels, no one has really, I believe, no, I apologize. The recently in the past year, I believe, a couple people have passed level 1, right? They completed level 1 assessments, right?
Yeah.
So it's not something that is really easy to really pass, right? Because it's really hands-on. The team at the GBA, we have to do the assessment, we have to go through the training and everything, and that's something that I'm going through as well. I went through the training already for the BMM. Now we have to go through 3 assessments, right? I have to participate in 3 assessments, and then I'll be certified to be able to, do my own assessments at Block Pro. And Block Pro, we're here to serve governments, sovereign institutions, large enterprises, and we're also here to take Web3 projects, prep them, and help them go to market directly to serve governments and sovereign institutions and large enterprises. And we require everyone that we work with to get a BMM certification.
Yeah, I would agree with you on the blockchain maturity model assessment. It's definitely like an audit, and it helps from the perspective of sort of like when you do your taxes. You kind of have to reflect on what you've achieved over the year, and what goals are do you think you're going to be doing for the next year. And so from the maturity model side, it looks at, okay, you've put these things in place. Where do you need to go to get to the next level? And it's a foundation, it's a step ladder. And many entrepreneurs who are building are really great at the concept, and also at creating good teams. But they, to kind of really manifest that next level, you also kind of need outside eyes to ask the questions. What about this? Or have you thought about this? And it's a very diverse team of individuals who are part of the panel that are is looking at this. And like you said, they're all trained. I know that from the GBA perspective, because I'm the co-chair of the legal working group, we're actually creating a special class for those in the compliance and the legal area, that lawyers or those with legal background would be required to take, in order for us to know that, separate from the training that you would be doing from the BMM, just to know that they have a blockchain legal background, and that background can happen in a variety of ways. But you also have to be comfortable with the vocabulary and understand what's going on. And that's why you can gain that experience not just by traditional law route. I mean, you could be an in-house counsel for a company and get that experience because of seeing what's going on. So we're, from the team perspective, I know GBA is looking at how to strengthen all the different players that are part of the assessment team. So yeah. Any last minute thoughts that you have, either about, the future of the projects that you're working on, or those that you are seeing being developed in our community? Because I know next year when we revisit our conversation, it's going to be interesting to see, fast forward the future, to see where we are and what's happening.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I'm so excited because the environment here in the United States is just really fertile for growth, right? The chokehold that was going on crypto is no longer there. So now, we have an opportunity to really grow. And I'm very excited because of all the new people that are in this space. And just look at my team alone. right? I have Sohail Tiwari, that is part of my team. He was the CFO of MasterCard Asia Pacific in November of last year. He left and joined my Block Pro in December. You know, we have Peter Pesaris, who it was the head strategist at IBM in the 1980s for 25 years, working under two CEOs, two consecutive CEOs, two consecutive chairmen of the board, and he was a founding member of Watson AI, and what's it called? Help scale the company and take it from a hardware company to a cloud company. You know, and so these are people that are very interesting, like Diane Maurice. She's a member of the GBA, and she was at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York for 6 years, and the last 12 years at the U.S. Treasury as senior risk management. You know, and so she's joined the team as well. So, you know, the type of new talent that's coming into the space that are interested in really serving, you know, governments and really like helping push best practices, you know, and build those bridges between, you know, the people that's been in blockchain, distributed ledger technology, and TradFi, you know, and traditional infrastructures and everything. It's really looking really beautiful right now. It's looking very it's like a renaissance, right? Where so much cool new things are about to be built. So I can't wait to revisit this like next year and see, you know, how much the world has changed.
Yeah, and I also can't wait to see, like with the GBA, how many companies have actually participated within the BMM, because I know that we'll have a directory and we're going to be expanding on that. So for everyone who's listening, both on the audio side as well as on the video side, definitely like and subscribe to the GBA YouTube and all the other socials. Um, be sure to join, the GBA. We have a lot of working groups, and even if you're think that you don't have something to contribute, we know you do. So everyone has an amazing skill set, and I know that different people change jobs and careers and then realize that in this blockchain world, you actually can apply the knowledge that you have in a traditional world over here, even though what is quote unquote traditional these days. Uh, so
It's
anyway,
changing.
it's
It's
changing. So
changing.
no, thank you so much for being on. All of your links will be below as well, so people can reach out to you. And everyone, thank you so much for listening. And let's see who our next guest is in the queue. Talk to you soon. Bye bye,
Thank
guys.
you.